Space, when we're not talking about the science around it and theorizing about the unknown, we can sit back and romanticize the dreams, the adventures, and prospects of a vast sea of stars and worlds. Drifting and sailing across moons and asteroids as society moves from Earth, our home, into the last frontier. The fantasy of a Western, being who you want in an endless ocean that is the void. Like the ships of Earth, there are ships of the stars. What would be a better way of getting around than jet-powered, high-velocity wormhole jumping rigs of transport? Some are grandiose, expensive, corporate-funded, mass-produced, more bourgeoisie modes of transportation, more limousine than sedan. Some are bestowed humbler vessels, coasting scrap heaps, passion projects, antiques, or salvage aftermarket cruisers. They may not be the prettiest, fastest, and certainly not the newest, but they will get you from one jump to the next. In this new expansion of discovery among the stars, humanity realized that it's lonely, dark, and empty. With the beauty and grandeur of the universe, we come to see that there is nothing here. It's like being stranded in the middle of a sea. However, instead, the ocean is a void of ink. It's endless and gorgeous, however pointless and emotionless. Think about how something can be filled to the brim with potential and be so vapidly soulless. The stars and planets, riddled with wonder, live stellar lives that they don't even acknowledge, along with said stellar bodies destroying and consuming each other until they reach the twilight of their lives that they again don't recognize. Something so life-defining, the literal containment of our conscious existence, both massive in scale and impact, living past billions of human lives and don't even recognize when it'll devour the lives it created. Where is the beauty in that? Why does anything matter if we're going to be evaporated when everything fades into the good night? Why do anything? Why cling on to anything if it can be taken from us at any point in time? It's truly a beautiful tragedy that we have yet to understand. However, in the words of a famous cowboy, whatever happens, happens. So let's focus on one of the first words in the title of the work, cowboy. Now, what do you think when you hear that word? It could be a rancher, an outlaw, a rogue, wary traveler, or even a bounty hunter. Names that may come to mind might be John Marston, the Man with No Name, Arthur Morgan, or even Major Marquess. People who are synonymous with the old, dusty Wild West. Who has to say that the Wild West has to be looked in that way? Locked and confined in an era. Some would say it is lived on as a way of life. Because what's so different between those that I mentioned before and the diverse cast that is in Cowboy Bebop? Albeit a lot cleaner than the former. They have steeds, though they are made of iron. They're some sort of bounty hunter. Instead of Colt 45s, they tote 1911s. Yet they are gunslingers all the same. They live a sort of gambler's lifestyle, along with traversing an expanse of new uncharted territory, living day by day. So by definition, in space, it's as cowboy as it's gonna get. However, as with all great Western stories, it is driven by, I know where we have to go, but how are we gonna get there? But in Cowboy Bebop, and especially with Spike, the viewer is given the destination, but how did we get there? Why are these characters left feeling this way, specifically Spike? Well, with all people, whether it's ruthless or for justifiable reasons, it's always connected with a person's past, especially when they feel more ghosts than people. Spike is more or less forcibly removed from his former life, but like the ghost that he is, he himself is haunted by his past and yearns to come to terms with it or be devoured by it. The past. What do you think personally when those words come to mind? Do you indulge in it, or are you consumed by it? Does it fill your dreams? Does it flood you with reminders? Is life in itself a dream? Spike, left longing and fractured. Spike, the one who can't abandon his past, but his future is defined by the exact opposite. He states at the very end of the show, when he goes to kill Vicious, he's not gonna go die, he's gonna go truly see if he's alive. You see, Spike never had a future past his former life in the Syndicate, because while in the Syndicate, a sort of space Yakuza in Cowboy Bebop, Spike had found what he was missing, his other half. A woman that goes by the ghastly name that is Julia. This character is so detrimental to how Spike thinks post-Syndicate era of his life. When the name Julia is said, his emotions, for a lack of better term, gain control over our flow like water, not a care in the world type of guy Spike is. Julia had Spike's heart, and after a while, she became his heart. After the ambush Spike survived and Julia went into hiding, a part of him went with her as well. His heart was still beating, but nothing felt the same. A bit of Spike had died, which brings us to existentialism within abandonment. You start asking questions as to why do things happen? Why did this happen to me? Questions that fall on deaf ears begin to pile up as the answers a person may want start to not even matter. It's an ethereal feeling as a person starts to let go and not care. They are again more ghosts than people, as the torment of being dead inside and not really caring to sink into the quicksand that is the void, because you'll sink quicker if you try to claw your way out. Whatever happens, happens, I suppose. Why try to wake up thrashing if the current life you are living is a dream? Spike often thinks that because nothing has felt real since Julia left. He's been drifting and floating, masking a cool facade that is seemingly self-destructive in nature, not really knowing what to do with himself or how to carry on, for he doesn't even know what happened to Julia. So in a sense, Spike during the entire show has been asleep, only to be woken up in the morning in the place she was going to meet him at, and only later that day for her to be shot and die in his arms. At that moment, Spike truly died, for his heart had finally been fatally wounded, and he watched that organ bleed out right in front of him. Now it was time for his body to die as well. Is it reasonable to feel this way? Like, visualize how small Spike is in a time of interplanetary travel, in which he can go and live how he pleases. But the one reason to live is now gone. He goes through the entire series seeing people lose things that they care about, whether it was long ago or happening right in front of him. Spike is watching how these encounters are going to carry that weight. Again, it's like he's watching a dream, and it's interesting how we all live different lives, but yet loss and tragedy is so integral and interwoven into the human experience that we as people, no matter how different and where the past drops us off and where the future takes us, we are all parallel. If humanity, all of us stripped down to our skeletons, we may recognize that we are all staring into a mirror, that there was a place that our hearts once were, and the muscles that gave us drive, and the lungs that made us breathe in the air that let us know that we are alive. Now what is left is decay and hollow eyes that see nothing but the void. Spike experiences this many times throughout the series, but a notable one is when he's in Venus in Session 8, when he meets Roko, a character very similar to Spike, for it foreshadows the events that are to come. He runs with a gang, he loves someone close to him, and has done necessary evils, and is eventually killed by the life that he had tried to leave behind. It's hauntingly similar to Spike's fate. The only difference is that Spike went in willingly into his destiny, for life no longer had anything to offer to him When Spike returns to the ship for the final time, he has a laugh with Jet. It's a cathartic feeling when two good friends, who had each other's backs since the time they had met, gravitated due to similar ideals and goals because they themselves were lost and tragic, now knowing that they are never going to see each other again because Spike has been asleep for far too long. And for what we know, sleep is just death being shy. However, Spike is tired of death being shy. He is tired of dreaming and yearns for reality. Spike wants to wake up from his dream, whether it's silent like the vacuum of space or with a bang.